I'm Kelly. I'm a CBT therapist and psychologist. And today we're going to think a little bit more about anxious attachment. So, in my other videos, we've spoken about attachment styles and really looking into how they develop and also how we can work with them. But I thought it would be nice to do a bit of more of a deep dive into the signs of anxious attachment and what you can really do about it. So, as we know with attachment styles, they develop when we are really young. And as you can imagine, that with the anxious attachment style, sometimes known as anxious ambivalent, that this is marked by anxiety and stress in relationships. And this then, to try and manage that anxiety and stress, people will often seek reassurance from other people, generally the ones that they are in the relationship with. So again, we can look at this when someone is young, but I'm going to be thinking about it more when we're looking at adults. So in adulthood, if someone has attachment style that is marked by anxiety, sometimes they can display low self-esteem and they can often worry a lot about themselves in the relationship. They can worry about how the part that they're playing in the relationship. They can worry about their partner or the person that they're in the relationship, their feelings. And because of this, sometimes because of the self-esteem, that people can experience jealousy. And this can be fueled by that sense that they feel maybe that they're not good enough, or that the person that they're with is going to go and find someone else. So then that can feel really uncomfortable, because that then plays into the cycle with self-esteem. So they don't feel great about themselves. They feel really anxious when they're in the relationship, and they can maybe compare themselves to others, and then that would lead to some jealousy. And when someone experiences an anxious attachment style, they can need that approval from others, and they can seek approval. And this can then create difficulties if the person that they're trying to get the approval from either isn't able to give it, or it gives it in a way that doesn't really feel right. So then the worrying continues. And this can come from that place of fearing rejection. So because they fear that rejection, they may try and seek that reassurance or do things to get something from that partner to make them feel safe. But this is still underpinned by that self-esteem and that kind of fear that maybe the other person's going to leave them, or they're going to find someone in their mind better than them. And this can be really difficult to communicate. So when difficulties are coming up around those areas, sometimes people will avoid those communications, or they'll avoid those conversations, because that then could make them feel like they're going to be rejected, or that the relationship's going to end. So then they just don't talk about it, and then it kind of internally can really feel uncomfortable, because they don't really have maybe the skills to be able to appropriately discuss these things, the concerns around the relationship, without worrying that it's going to lead to the end of the relationship. So then they just completely withdraw. Or if it does enter into some sort of conversation that they feel could go into conflict, they'll withdraw before it gets to that chance to be able to discuss things in a way. But also within that conflict, it's actually difficult to be able to communicate their needs within the conflict, because they're so fearful that the relationship is going to end, or their partner is going to see them in a light that they don't want to be seen in. And then this can lead to individuals becoming overly maybe dependent on the other person, and kind of having a difficulty with that poor sense of boundaries, because they're consistently trying to get that reassurance from their partner. So they may call a lot, they may text a lot, just because they're trying to get that reassurance to prove that I'm okay, I'm safe in this relationship. Because of that, because they do fear that rejection, they can often sometimes maybe get into relationships that aren't always the best for them, because they don't like being alone, because then that makes them feel more anxious, arguably controversially. So because they fear of being alone, they may enter into relationships that aren't necessarily the best for them. And when they are in relationships, whether that is in friendships or romantic relationships, they often prioritise other people's needs above their own. And because they do that, that doesn't make them feel great, because they're putting all their energy and effort into other people and they're not actually getting their own needs met. So then in doing so, they may feel that they're not able to give themselves an opportunity to develop their own self-esteem by engaging in things that would help with their self-esteem. When we're looking at diagnostics, the anxious attachments in adults is often linked with social anxiety disorder. And because of this, then kind of it's thinking about, okay, so how can we work with social anxiety if it does develop into that? Not for everyone, but for some. But I think one of the main things that when we're working with ourselves or with other people with anxious attachment, it's getting them to be able to regulate their own emotions. They don't excessively worry, or they don't always seek the kind of the emotional support or the reliance on other people, so they're able to do that themselves. And in doing so, in social interactions, it can make it less overwhelming or less stressful for individuals. And being able to build their own self-esteem. So there's many ways that you can do that. You can look at challenging the core beliefs, and I've got loads of videos on how you can do that. But simply you can look at the things that you accept about yourself or you like about yourself, and maybe eventually that you love about yourself. Having lists of them, so lists are great for this. So then if you do have any times when maybe wobbling or the self-esteem is being questioned, you've got this list of all this evidence that proves that you are okay, you are able to do things, and that can kind of do the cognitive element of balancing out your self-esteem. But also focusing on doing things that you enjoy and that make you feel good, that gives you that sense of achievement. So enjoyability and having that sense of achievement are really key. So hopefully that's given a bit of an insight into the signs of anxious attachment, but also maybe things that you could do, or if someone you're working with experiences this, to help them also. As always, please like and subscribe, and please let me know in the comments if there's anything else you would like me to speak about next. Thank you very much and take care.